Chemistry can be very, very interesting if you played it like a game instead of memorizing it like a punishment. So today on Lehecys TV, we are turning chemical reactions into a competitive card game. This is CHEM REACT, and these are the cards that I have with me. You can see the pink cards. The pink cards are for elements and molecules. So the pink cards are there. Elements are here. Different types of elements are representing my pink cards. I also have molecules with me. You can see chlorine molecules. So those are my pink cards. Then I have the yellow cards. My yellow cards are for the types of reaction, neutralization, combustion, displacement, precipitation, electrolysis. Those are my yellow cards. Then I have cards for the reaction. I call them reaction cards, showing different types of reactions. Some of my equations are balanced, some are not balanced. The reaction cards, my reaction cards are white. Then I have challenge cards. I have my challenge cards there with me. Balance the equation and acid. These are challenge cards. My challenge cards are red. Predict the reaction. You can have as many challenge cards as possible depending on the game you want to play. Then I have the sign cards, arrows, because I'll be talking about chemical reactions, so arrows are necessary. So I have the symbol cards, that is the arrow cards. The symbols are arrows and plus, because in writing equations, additions must be done between the reactants, and then we get the products using arrows. Then I have number cards for balancing. Now, the goal of this game is to correct chemical reactions before the other players. So 6 players play this game. They can be 2, but a maximum of 6 play this game, and they sit in a circle if they are 6, and they play in a clockwise manner or anti-clockwise manner, whichever direction you want to play. So before they play, each of the players draws cards randomly. So they draw 6 cards randomly. So you make sure the cards are as random as possible. Mine are of different sizes. You can even put them similar sizes depending on what you have. So I have my players drawing their cards randomly here. 6 cards each. I'm just putting them randomly. So say, for example, each player draws those number of cards. If there are 6 players, it works well if each player draws 6 cards. So suppose they draw those number of cards, then some cards are placed back to the pool. Some cards are placed back to the pool. So this is my pool. Some are placed back, the players have drawn. So this is how the play is done. So for example, if say this is the player that starts the reaction, player number 1, then say for example, he starts with a challenge card. The challenge card here, he wants the next player to find an acid. So he puts it at the center, an acid. Then the next player explains what an acid is as he tries to get acids from his cards. So if this player does not have what he can arrange to come up with an acid, he can talk about anything to do with an acid. Like we know acids react with bases to form salts and to form a salt and water. An acid react with a base to form a salt and water, and that type of reaction is called neutralization. So this player can decide to put here a neutralization. Then the next player should now, from among his cards, try to find neutralization reaction. So for example, he can look at his cards. If you look at the cards that he has, this particular player, he has an equation for neutralization reaction. So the first player started the challenge, an acid. The next player continued the challenge, neutralization reaction, after explaining the type of reaction an acid can undergo with a base. The third player has brought in the equation. Now the game ends. When this game is being played, sometimes you can reach a point whereby the challenge is done and then maybe the next player does not predict correctly. So for example, this player can start the reaction. Say this player now starts the reaction. He puts in this at the center. This is an equation for the reaction between magnesium and oxygen to form magnesium oxide. The equation is not balanced. So for example, he puts it in and then he says this particular player shouts, balance the equation. This particular player says balance the equation. In challenge, it can be done randomly. Now that is the one that has the challenge that is relevant to that. Then this player continues to balance the equation. So if he doesn't have the number cards that balances the equation, he says pass and then draws one card from the box, one random card from the box, and comes back with it. The next player continues, tries to balance the equation. So this particular player only has 3. So suppose he tries to balance the equation with the 3. It will not balance. That is wrong. So suppose he does this and it is wrong. Any of the players is at liberty to shout, reaction check, reaction check. So when a player says reaction check, all the players come back to whatever is at the center. They discuss it and find out where the problem is. Once they find out where the problem is, they decide what is supposed to be done. Then the player that made the mistake withdraws his card and then takes an additional card from the pool. That is the penalty they get. So as many cards as you have, then it means you'll delay to finish your reaction. And as you remain to finish your reaction, it means you need to pull up your socks. So the next player continues again. So this next player can try to balance the equation. If he cannot balance the equation, he'll say pass. When he says pass, he also draws another card, another random card from here. This player tries to balance the equation. If he cannot balance, pass. He also draws another card here. Then this player comes and tries to play. So say, for example, this player comes and is able to balance the equation. He puts 2 here. So that is in the process of balancing. It's not yet balanced, but he's in the process of doing that. So he has placed 2 there. Then he allows the next player to continue. So the next player tries to balance. If he's not able to balance, he says pass. And as he says pass, he draws another card. So if he draws a card from the pool randomly, the next player comes in and tries to continue. So they'll continue until they'll find a situation whereby the cards are drawn and they are able to find the card that will be able to balance. So when the draw is continuously done, you'll find a situation whereby now a player comes up with this particular card, and finally a correct draw is done. When a correct draw is done, then 2 placed there will balance the equation, and then now that game will be over. They place it aside, and then another challenge comes in. Maybe type of reaction. This player starts. Name the reaction. Or for example, this player starts, puts the card at the center, a reaction card. This player continues. Name the reaction. Then the other player, if he doesn't have what it takes to name the reaction, he can explain. If it explains correctly, then the game ends. Or if he doesn't explain correctly, then the explanation continues. But if he has what it takes to name the reaction from among his cards, like this is an electrolysis type of reaction, then he can check if he has and the type that shows. So he can place it here, like he has electrolysis. He can place it here to show that this type of reaction is electrolysis. The ions are combining. The type of reaction is electrolysis. Then all the players now go ahead and talk about electrolysis. And after they have discussed electrolysis for a few seconds, or the player that places it talks about it, then that game is over. Another challenge comes in, and it continues like that, as the players continue to enjoy and enjoy and enjoy. Now, this type of game is very, very interesting because it helps the learners to master the types of reactions in chemistry, to be familiar with the chemical terms, the types of reactions, and the symbols and elements. And it also encourages peer teaching, peer learning, discussions, challenges, without necessarily have to memorize them from the text. Follow the Lehecys TV for more of such card games. You can try this with your students. You can try this at home with your learner if you are a homeschooling mom or dad, or you can try it as students. And you can also design your own game cards and make chemistry very, very interesting.